Hi, everybody. Leanne Holitza here at the Healing Studio with Stephanie Soder. She's
Hi.
upstairs. I'm downstairs. We're all here having a good time in Broomfield, Colorado. So we have been talking, and we decided that we might want to get together once a month and just kind of share with you guys what we are noticing as energy healers during these times. Kind of giving you like a little here's what we're seeing forecast, right? Like
Yeah.
here's the news today. Not necessarily predictions, but just like what we're seeing, the themes being, and see if they match up with what you are feeling is happening for you. So if you're watching us later, thank you. If you're watching us live, you can definitely come and put any comments you would like us to comment on in the comment section. Um, I'm just going to put up our website for just a second. If you guys don't know who we are or want to know more about what we're up to, we're at the healingstudionow.com is a good place to check us out. So I'm going to start off by saying um, January kind of came in for me anyways, with some big needs to kind of reevaluate what I'm doing with my time, how I'm how I'm interacting with things and people and what's going on inside of me. It wasn't fun, I have to say.
Right?
And I think that with what we had going on, it was really important for us to keep like accountable to our own thoughts, to our choices, to the things we were doing, and not necessarily, go into the blame game or, let other people blame us or other people shame us, but really getting into our own kind of like clarity box, right? And just get ourselves working on ourselves, as always is the name of the game. But I'm just curious, what for you, did you experience the same
Yeah,
thing?
it was a lot of the same thing. It was a lot of reevaluating relationships. Is this a relationship that's working for me? If not, is it one that needs some tweaking? Can we do a little more clarity in our communication? Or is it one that's just, not really for me anymore? And there was a lot more of that than I was expecting. Um,
Yeah, well, and I mean, clients too were doing this, right? And a lot of it was the guys were pulling everybody back to being accountable to themselves about what were they consenting to? The big word was consent, right? What are you consenting to? What are you letting happen to you? What are you participating in? A lot of like, nope, you can't blame anybody else now. You have to, it's on you now, right? And so,
Well, and I think it was also a lot of, wait a minute, I recognize this pattern. I've been doing this for a really long time. I don't think I want to do this anymore. I think I want
well,
to do
oh
this.
yeah, pattern recognition for sure, right? Yeah, this is like, oh, okay, this again. Well, and I found it really interesting. The kind of like the conclusion was, for me anyways, and for some of my clients that I was working with, is to let things not um fit. If they don't fit, it's okay to let them move on. It doesn't make anybody wrong or bad.
Yeah.
I personally want to be so inclusive and want everybody to be, you know, everybody to be
Right?
happy and everybody to be involved and feel included. But
Well, and
sometimes
I'm
it's
super
okay.
loyal. And it's like, if you've been my friend a really long time, I assume you're going to be my friend for another really long time. And that has turned out not really to be the case.
Right. And it's okay. That's the thing
Right.
that I guess maybe, is the hardest to kind of come to. Is like it doesn't have to be painful. I mean, it can be, it is sometimes, but I think it speaks a lot to our own like abandonment and rejection wounds.
Yeah. There's that whole like what do we want to bring into the new age? What do we want to bring into this year and the next few years?
Mhm.
And I think there's a lot of shedding. There's a lot of like, oh, I was expecting this person to come with me and they're not actually. And that can be there can be some grief involved in that.
Yeah, and I even noticed some fear in some of my clients about like letting things go. Like if I let that person go, what's going to happen to them? Or, almost like an over responsibility too. Like I have to bring that person with me.
Right. What's going to happen to them if I don't? That's a good point. Yeah.
which I don't think we can take responsibility for each other in that way.
No,
I
no.
mean,
A lot of times letting somebody go is letting them be their higher self. Like
mhm.
we, sometimes hanging on to this version we have of them is holding them back, and letting them go is letting them move into their new space or stay where they are, where they're comfortable.
Yeah, I very much have this sensation that we cannot take things with us that we have taken with us from the past. I
Mhm.
think this year is going to be a lot of, are you sure you're going to take that with you? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yeah.
But it's also interesting. So one of the things I'm noticing with the clients that I'm working with is that a lot of people are like identified with like their victory story, like the thing they've overcome, the thing
Oh,
that they've, but unfortunately by doing that, by making that their theme, they are literally bringing more of the same with them. Right. So like
it's really funny that you say that, because a memory popped up for me from 10 years ago where I was saying, I don't feel like a victim, but I don't feel like a survivor. Like, I don't think victim or survivor, really fits. What do I feel like? And I didn't really at the time come up with a word, but this morning I just, realized healer. I'm healing, I heal other people. That's my whole life, is I embody the healer now. And I think that's what we're all, it's like the archetypes, right? Like we're moving. What is your old archetype? And the archetypes aren't something that we're stuck to, like a lot of people think we are, like wounded healer. I'm a wounded healer. I'll be that the rest of my life. But we can move out of the wounded piece and just be healer. And so it's that way with all the archetypes. Like, what are we ready to move into coming forward?
Well, and it's interesting you mentioned the archetype because if you think about it, like, if I'm a problem solver, what does a problem solver need?
Problems.
Problems, right? If I'm a warrior, what does a warrior need? War,
Battles.
right? Yeah. So, I think really recognizing that and not just like hanging on to our identities, but actually start to look into how can I evolve this identity into something that's more peaceful, more harmonious, collaborative,
Yeah,
because those are the energies we're moving into as we move
right.
into the Aquarian age, and that's something that it, none of us have ever truly experienced this energy because we haven't had it in our lifetime, and so it'll be nice to start to kind of experiment with that, and I think that that's partially why Stephanie and I are agreeing to meet with you guys like this because we want to bring you in. We want to bring you into our community more. I want you to be able to feel like you can, kind of get grounded in what we are seeing so that you don't have to go and feel like you're fluttering in the wind by yourself.
Right. That's what I was just about to say, is a lot of times until we find out like other people experiencing the same things we are, where we get this like, what's wrong with me? Why are all my friends leaving me? Or why am I in such conflict with this? Or why am I, a lot of those whys. And when you find out, like, oh, guess what? We're all going through it. You're not
Mhm.
alone.
Right, right. Well, and I think I really love that my clients are showing up to the work because it's kind of it's amazing. I mean, some people have really intense background stories that are
Yeah.
hard to overcome, hard to face, hard to deal with, and a lot of times it's feels easier to just be like, "Oh, that was in the past," right? But
Yeah.
as you and I both know, some
Yeah.
stuff doesn't stay in the past. Some stuff stays stuck, it
Yeah.
but it's in the
Well,
present.
and there's another thing, another aspect of that is the spiritual bypassing. When
No,
we say, "Oh, I've forgiven everyone and I'm just going to be positive and I'm just going to live my life in light and I'm going to be all healthy and healed now because I looked at that, right?
right?
Work and now it's all gone, right?"
I know, I know. Yeah, I mean, I have not been able in at least in January, it was a very, difficult for me to do my work in private. Like, everything was on my face, everything was on my I was just out there with what I was working on, and I don't think that that was necessarily a bad thing. I
Mhm.
mean, it can feel bad if somebody gets stuck in, like, kind of like, a, victim energy for a really long time or doesn't do the work to move out of it, but
Right.
but I do think us being honest with each other, and not just that surfacey like, "Hey, how are you?" "Oh, good." "I'm great, right? And instead, truly being like as honest as we can with the people who it makes sense to be honest to, who've earned the place of getting an honest answer.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. And just allow, and like I see so many more people allowing themselves to be vulnerable and not hiding the parts of ourselves that we don't like, the parts of ourselves that have addiction or are grieving or have, you know, depression or anxiety. Like I see a lot of people saying, you know what? We can't hide this anymore because it's not serving us to hide.
Right.
And we don't have to be super public about it, but at the same time, we can say, hey, you know, I see you and I see what
Mhm.
you're going through. And it allows more of that back and forth of support. Like, hey, let's be there for each other.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I'm also seeing one of the themes that I think is just starting to really amp up right now is the theme of self versus other and learning like how to get your needs met um in a relationship or in relationships without losing yourself. It's not always an easy answer, right? Sometimes there's a part of us that's giving a lot of energy to a relationship and not getting a lot back. And we do that for a variety of reasons, right?
Right.
And then vice versa. Sometimes we're taking a lot more than we're giving. And
Yeah.
figuring out that I think as we move into that theme, and I think that's going to be a February theme. And I think that also with the February theme, which is fitting for the Valentine's Day thing, right? But the is the self-esteem, really learning to love ourselves in a truly like not like I'm so amazing and special.
Right.
Yes, yes, you are. But in like I know my worth and I know the worth in the other people to a deeper level than I've ever known it before, which allows more relationship balance.
Yes. Yes. And also recognizing that that love comes from within, but it also comes from a much higher source. Like allow yourself to be loved
Mhm.
by all the love that's available around you, not just from people, but from whatever word you want to use for the divine
Mhm.
source. It flows constantly through us, that beautiful loving energy
True,
is
true.
always available.
Well, and I think when we learn to recognize that divine energy in ourselves, we learn to recognize it in others, and we treat each other in a different way.
Yes.
And we have more space inside ourselves for, whatever the kind responses are to something versus the defensive or unkind responses that we've had in the past. I also feel like that is part of the accountability for what's coming up now is like how we respond, how we react, how we request if it's not a good fit, how we request back, how to back up from that not a good fit, how we request,
Kindly,
yeah,
like just how to step back in a kind way.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
I feel like, from what we're talking about, like, I noticed the whole decade of, like, the 2010s being all about self-care. Like,
Mm,
self-care was, like, the word of the decade, right? Like, bubble baths and, like, respect your boundaries. I mean, there was all these debates over what self-care is and isn't, right? But I notice we've moved more into that this is, like, the decade of self-love.
yeah.
Like you're saying, it's more a decade of love and kindness and, I am kind to you not because of you, but because that's who I am. So
Mhm,
how you treat me, I'm not gonna lash back out at you, not because you don't deserve it, but because I don't deserve to behave that way. I like behaving with kindness. And that's an act of self-love, like behaving towards other people with kindness is another way to love yourself.
right. And kind of finding that again that ground where you can say no to something if you need to, but not f off no.
Right.
But just no, like that, just that really stable,
Yeah,
okay, that
that
no.
it's like that, your boundaries don't have to be an electric fence.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a lot soft light that says, "I will be treated respectfully."
Well, especially when you have your energy field set up properly, right? When your energy field is pushed out arm's length around you in all directions, the boundary is out there, not here, right? And so
Yeah.
you don't have to be like, because because the energy is further out, and you can just see it coming and be like, oh, I see that coming. I don't want that, you
Right.
know. So yeah, well, um, this is where we're going with the things that we invite you guys, even after if you've watched this later, feel free to comment later. Barbara shares trying to kill Karen with kindness. She's a little frowny face there. Yeah. Well, I mean, just because somebody else isn't being kind, sometimes you have to just not consent to engaging, right? I mean, that's part of it. It's just literally like, whoa, that okay, no. I know this sounds like we're oversimplifying it. We live in the world. We have,
Right.
we see the road ragers and the angry people at the grocery store, and we see it, and we do our best to do it. It's not like we're saying we're walking this talk every 24/7. We are learning too, just with you, like you guys are.
Right.
So
Right. We get cranky. We get confused. We get sad and hurt.
exactly, exactly. And we're not saying any of that's wrong. That's not it. But we're just saying that what the mastery is that's coming through right now is we're learning how to evolve those responses. But we're
Right.
learning is the key
To look
word.
and go, maybe I want to do that a little differently next time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, you guys. I so appreciate you spending time listening to us and talking with us. Share comments if you like. We will be doing this once a month, so look for it on the Healing Studio events calendar on Facebook. And yeah, join us when you want. Put your questions out to us. We'll be happy to answer them. In the meantime, go be amazing.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.